Hey everybody, welcome back here to A Place to Heal. This is going to be one of those late night videos. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm trying to add a little bit of spirituality into this channel, as well as the healing, because I've noticed along my journey that there's a lot of people that really deal in the spiritual part of healing their body and becoming enlightened. I hate that word, it's been used so much. To become enlightened. And then there's the people that just focus on the food. And I've noticed that you have to actually, it's like this little balancing act. You have to deal with the spirituality as well as the food and the spirituality if you want to get that perfect round circle where everything's on board. So this video is about, is there life after death? What happens when you die? Those near-death experiences. So I wasn't going to share this story, and then I've had a few people ask me about it, and after I told it to them, it's like, oh, you've got to share this, Marie. So 5 years ago, I got very sick, and I went on a round of antibiotics. And some of you already know this story because a couple of years ago I put out a book, and it's called When You've Finally Had Enough. And it's on Amazon. It's been there for a while, and there's some of you that have read it. Some of you are here because of that book. And it explains how I got to that point in my life where I ended up at the hospital. But for it was in December, I got very sick of 2010, and they put me on a round of antibiotics, and that didn't work. So I went back and got on a second round of antibiotics, and that didn't work. And right around New Year's, all my friends started telling me, you really need to go see a doctor, Marie. This has been going on a long time. And I was like, well, I have seen a doctor. I don't know what else to do. And it was really bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. There was days when I was on my way to work and I would have to pull over, and I was vomiting mucus. I mean, tons of mucus, and it was bad. So right around January, I think it was January 9th, I couldn't take it anymore. And I finally asked to be driven to the hospital. So I was taken into the hospital, taken into the ER, and this really nice young doctor from India came in, and he says, we have to admit you. And I was like, admit me? What do you mean? I'm just sick. Give me some more antibiotics. And well, it didn't turn out that way. So I ended up getting admitted. I had no clue that I was getting admitted to the intensive care unit. I thought I was just being admitted into one of the plain old hospital beds. But anyway, after 3 days, I was laying there in the morning, and I remember I was looking out the window, and I was just kind of looking at my surroundings, and at that moment everything was very dull and kind of cloudy. It wasn't clear. And I remember all of a sudden all my machines started going nuts. I mean, it was like beep, beep. It was crazy. And I remember laying there like I was like stoned out of my mind going, oh, I wonder whose machines are going crazy. The next thing I know, I've got like all these nurses around me. And there was one nurse in particular that I had grown very close to, and she was there. And I remember her sitting there screaming at me and telling me, Marie, breathe for me, please breathe for me. And the funniest thing that I can express to you guys is that it wasn't like I couldn't breathe. It was like, it was just so normal to not breathe. And I guess I should explain that for the last 3 days that I had been before this happened, They kept taking x-rays of my lungs and x-rays of my lungs because they couldn't figure out I had this little line that was going right along the top of my lung, and they couldn't figure out what this little line was. And well, eventually they did. They found out that that little line was the fill line. My lungs were filling up with fluid. And where that little line was, that was where the fluid had gone up to that. So literally I was drowning in my own fluid. So I remember looking up at the clock and thinking to myself, only I could do this, looking up at the clock and thinking to myself, damn it, I'm going to die here alone without no family, no friends, and I'm going to know the time of my death. Does this suck or what? And the next thing I heard was beep, and it was done. Now, I know there's a lot of you going, so what happened? Is there life after death? What happens after you die? I remember that it was pitch black. And the next thing I know, there was a very dim light that came on, and I was in a courtroom setting. And the courtroom was very round, and there was entities sitting in judgment. It was kind of weird. There was like 6 of them, but their figures were dark, and I couldn't see who they were, but they were wearing like the robes that judges wear. And the one in the middle says to me, do you want to stay or do you want to leave? Do you want to go back? And I remember I was sitting there, and it's like I couldn't even hear my breath. Like I wasn't breathing. And it took me minutes because I kept telling them, it's like, I need a minute. I need a minute. And they're like, take your time. You know, do you want to go with us or do you want to go back? And I stood there just kind of staring at all of them and admiring how beautiful the oak was, this dark, rich, beautiful wood oak that was in this courtroom setting. And then I remember looking down at the floor, and it was like this polished white marble with black running through it. And I just thought, God, that's just so beautiful. It's just, wow, that's got to be the prettiest marble I've ever seen. And then the next thing I know, I looked up at him and I said, I want to go back. And he said to me, one of them said to me, why do you want to go back? And I said, because my granddaughter is going to need me and I want to go back for her. So they said, okay. And the next thing I know, I went, and the nurse that I was very close to was standing right there, and I could see tears in her eyes. She was very emotional, and she looks at me, she goes, oh, thank God, we got her back. We got her back. Later on, I was to find out that they lost me for 3 minutes. And it felt like I had been in there an eternity. It really did. But that wasn't the weirdest part about the whole thing. You know, 3 weeks, I spent another 28 days in intensive care before I was released. And I went home, and about 3 weeks after I had been released from the hospital, we lived way out in the country, and you could see the stars. I mean, they were beautiful. It's like you could see all the stars. And I decided that I was going to sit outside because I still was not feeling well. I still couldn't breathe right. They still had me on oxygen. You know, my side was still hurting, my liver, everything. My diabetes was out of control. And I decided that I wanted to go outside, and I wanted to look at the sky. And I had this terrible urge that I wanted to look at the sky. And I went outside, and I was rocking. I mean, this was just like it was yesterday. And I was rocking on one of those porch swings. And I remember I looked up at the sky and I closed my eyes and I started thinking, it's so easy to die. It was just so natural, so mellow, so undramatic, so not what I thought it was going to be. And the next thing I know, I'm not sure exactly what it was that happened, but I've been told by people that maybe it was because all the elements in the universe were perfectly aligned with my body, or, I've had so many explanations of what happened. And I sat there, and as I closed my eyes, I suddenly became the universe. I was part of this vast universe, and it was just, it like consumed me. And all of a sudden I was part of the grass, and I could feel the grass moving, and I could feel the grass breathing, and I could feel the trees breathing and expanding, and I was part of the trees, and I was part of the grass, and I was part of the earth. We were all one, and I was part of everyone. And the sky just kept getting larger and larger, and this feeling of love and acceptance, it just overwhelmed me. I have no idea how long I was in there, but I could not even hear my breath. I mean, I wasn't even my breath anymore. I wasn't even me anymore. I was part of the whole universe, and it was just the most beautiful, overwhelming. I mean, till this day, it like overwhelms me, because it was just the most beautifulest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And as quick as I was in, I sat there and I couldn't take anymore. It was just, the love was just too much. The experience was just too much. Everything was just so overwhelming, where the next thing you know, I was just like, I came back, and I was back in my body again, and I was in reality again. And I just started looking at the stars with a whole new profound love, understanding, and everything. Now, ever since that experience, I've had some very strange things happen. If I go somewhere, and I can pick up people's sadness. I can pick up when people are, I can sense their feelings. Even now, when I have phone consultations, I can pretty much feel where the person is having pain. And everything's become intensified. And it's become very hard for me to be in large crowds of people, because I can feel, there's this, that, well, for instance, we went out. There was a bunch of us that went out to go dancing, maybe about 8 or 9 months ago. And I was sitting there at the table, and I kept looking around and looking around. And one of my girlfriends, who understands everything that happened and everything, she's like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" And I go, "I don't know. I just sense something, and it's ugly, and it's dark, and it's eerie, and it's creepy, and I don't like it." And I was trying to find who it was coming from, because there was all these people. And finally I kept looking till there was this one guy at the bar, and he kept just sipping on his beer. And I told her, I go, "That's who it's coming from. That's it." I go, "That's it." And all the women needs to just stay away from him. And it's like, this has become really strange for me, because I know that there's people that are born with these gifts, and they can hear spirit and everything else. And I guess I've always had those. My grandmother was always very intuitive. She was very into herbs and since I was a little kid. I mean, she's what they call like a curandera, which is the Latin word for, like herbalist, and a healer. And that's what I was raised with, and I've always been very, very in tune to that. But it's gotten really, really, really strong ever since this all happened. And my dreams have become clear and more profound. And, I've been given answers in my dreams and seen things that are just unbelievable. And it's just overwhelmed me a lot. And I know there's a lot of you that go, well, it's kind of weird that I don't usually talk about all this, because there's a lot of people out there that don't understand it. I don't like to talk to a lot of my friends, because they're not into this and they don't understand. And the last thing I want to do is push people away because they're like, oh, now you're a freak. So I don't want to do that. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that are like, well, you're pretty reclusive. And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty reclusive, because anytime I go to any kind of gatherings, I think that the more we decalcify our pineal gland, and the cleaner that our bodies become, and the better vibrations that we can pick up off of people, the harder it is to be around other people, because their energies can almost make you sick. Like, I can be around somebody and I'm like, I'll tell my friends, I'm like, oh, she's so sad. She's so sad. I can feel the sadness. It's just tearing me up. I gotta leave. I can't be here. So, so that's become very hard for me. He won't leave me alone. So I'm gonna, it's been very hard for me to deal with that ever since this whole thing happened. So I just, I wanted to share that story. I wasn't going to share that story because I don't want like everybody knowing about it. But then I was thinking, it's also part of my journey. And when I came on Facebook, I didn't come on Facebook on YouTube, sorry. I didn't come on YouTube or Facebook to like help people out. I didn't come to give out health information. The reason that I came on YouTube and got on Facebook was just to share my journey, so that at one point I could look back and go, wow, that happened. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's kind of like my journal. And I always said, well, if there's people who want to watch, they're more than welcome to. And if not, they don't have to. But so I decided that I should share this. And if you guys are interested in getting the beginning of the story, how the whole story started up to the point, like I said, I have my book. It's on Amazon. It's been on there a while. It's called When You've Finally Had Enough. And it's the story of my life, and how I ignored my body, and how I didn't listen to the signs. And it's about my drug addiction and my stupid choices that I've made in life, and how I ended up in that hospital room in intensive care on that cold January morning at 5:45 a.m. So, all right, so that's my spiritual video for this week. So for all of you that have the question, hey, is there life after death? For me, there was. And what happens after you die? And I think from my experience and hearing other people's experience, I think it's all personal. I really think it's what's in your belief system. Because I think it was Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, that I read one time where he said that, you know, just you have to decide, just like you have to decide and plan for your retirement, and you have to plan for this and you have to plan for that. You should really plan how your death is going to, what's going to happen after your death. You know, is it going to be somewhere, you're going to go somewhere beautiful, or you're going to go somewhere ugly? And you should plan that too. And I think it has a lot to do with our belief system, what happens, and, you know, and stuff like that. I might be wrong. I don't know. So anyway, we'll see you real soon here for the next video. I know I've been getting asked a lot for diabetes videos. Right now, I'm in the middle of trying an experiment to see, and so far it's been going 110% awesome. So I will probably be doing that diabetic video in about another 2 to 3 weeks once that experiment is over, so I can share it with you and give you the precise information. And I've also been being asked to do a liver video. So that's probably going to be in the works. And if there's anything that you guys want to know about, you know, let me know. I know I've had a lot of people asking me for kidney videos, but you know, I've done kidney videos to death. And I've also got a kidney book, Healing the Kidneys 101 on Amazon. So, which has got links to everything you need. And it doesn't matter what kind of kidney disease you have, because everybody's like, well, I have this kidney disease, or I have that kidney disease, or I have scarring on my kidney. It doesn't matter what kidney disease you have. If you just follow the stuff in the book, it will clean up your kidneys. I mean, that's why I did the book. And with my kidney people, I have a thing that I do, and you can email me with that, where I give you guys support to help you through. And hopefully in the future, there's a few people that I'm dealing with right now who have actually gotten off dialysis. And some of them are doing really great in healing. So hopefully I'll have some interviews for you guys in the future with them. So till we meet again, please, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and don't fear death. It was, like I said, amazing how easy it is to just let go and cross over. And it wasn't so bad on the other side. And being part of the universe and being part of all that is such a magical experience, such a magical feeling that I wish everyone could experience it at least once in their lifetime. All right, till next time, love you guys. Bye-bye.